Alright guys, some brand new news from the Diablo News Blizzard website. So they're basically announcing that there is going to be an announcement on October 4th, but there is just a slight amount of news that is technically new here. So I'll go over it because, what kind of Diablo content creator would it be if I didn't at least try to give you guys all the info. So basically I'm going to give you guys the rundown of this article because it's a little bit lengthier than it needs to be, but also talk a little bit about what they actually need to do. So starting right off, the new developer livestream updates, there's going to be two different ones. There is going to be one on October 4th at 11 a.m. and maybe shortly after it, I'll give you guys like the condensed version of it. So that's when the actual brand new announcement of the developer updates is going to be happening. And this is going to be taking a look at the brand new season, Season 2, Season of Blood. And there's going to be some more details, and on top of that, there's going to be those details on October 10th. So there's going to be a campfire chat on October 10th. So basically what it comes down to is there was kind of this speculation that this patch is going to be so big that they cannot fit it in a short stream, so they have to do two separate ones. I hope that that's the case. I hope it's not just a bunch of massical numerical changes like we saw in Season 1 that realistically didn't matter. Getting your generator to get 1% more on like all of these different stats and a 1% here and there, sure, it's a nice buff, but at the end of the day, I don't think that that's what we really need. But they do give us a small little hint on what's to come over here. So what's going to be in this developer update live stream? So it's going to have many of the quality of life updates throughout Season 2. So they're going to be talking about requested features, so we're going to get additional stash space and functionality improvements and functionality. So this is like one part over here. Now we actually do know what's actually in here because they already said, this was in a previous news update, that there is going to be some way where we can search our stash. So more than likely that is the stash space and functionality. My hopes are in the aspect department. If you guys didn't know, in the original version of the game, I'm talking about the review copy, the copy that some people had before it was out, and about like a week before the game came out officially, there was like the early access that you can buy in. How the aspects would work is as your character would level up, these aspects in power would also level up. Now apparently that was a bug, and that actually is a way for us to save stash space because we wouldn't have to just keep a aspect because I can always just craft a perfect one on it. Later, they rolled an update which basically reverted that change because it was, I guess, a bug, but I thought that's how the game was originally designed. And in fact, that was actually a better design because you didn't have to just store a bunch of things. You didn't have to waste your aspect stash tab with a bunch of useless things because you would just essentially have the max roll one. How I think it should work is if I roll a high one and I, let's say, disenchant it, can it just like absorb into the occultist and I can just craft it on any of my pieces of gear versus having to think, well, this is a perfect rolled one. I rolled it at level 10. I'm going to store it in my stash until I get that GG perfect item near like level 60 plus. So I think that this would be a very nice change if they are also doing this, but this could just be stash searching because this was already announced again on their announcement of Season 2, which was weird that they announced it so early on because, again, we're still in the middle of Season 1, and to basically announce that was kind of a surprise, at least. There's also some improvements to dungeons. What does this mean? So since they're mentioning the requested features, my guess for this is it's going to be able to teleport us right into the dungeon. So if you open up a nightmare dungeon, how it works is it teleports you in front. So you have to open it, load into that area, then you click on the little door, and then you have to load in again. Why that was implemented, I have no idea, but at the end of the day, if this is the improvement to the dungeons, I still think we need a better form of endgame content. Just that slight quality of life feature, sure. I will say that that is a quality of life, but it doesn't fix the core issue that I think a lot of people are having with the life cycle and the longevity of the game, which is essentially, we want to do more than just nightmare dungeons. We have this giant open world, let's sort of use it, right? Even though we have these hell tides, one, they're only available for a duration, you have to be on at a certain time, and on top of that, it's only in maybe a specific region, which does kind of encourage you to go through all of the regions, but some people aren't on 24/7, so they don't have access to, doing a hell tides when they need to get the specific specific thing. So it'd be kind of nice to be able to do this whenever. And on top of that, just adding a lot more things than just dungeons here. Now, they also mentioned mounts. My guess is mounts may finally ignore unit collision. This is a suggestion that I've been talking about for a really long time, where the horses just get stuck on everything. This was not mentioned, though, in the previous announcement of Season 2. So this is technically one of the only, like, newer things, but mentioning that there's going to be improvements to dungeons. What is this? I've always mentioned glyph leveling should be a lot faster at the end of the day, and then they're going to allow us to answer questions, and then they're going to do another campfire chat. So I was talking about this with my chat over on my stream yesterday, and I was talking about the brand new season, right? So this whole Season of Blood announcement, I want to go ahead and actually, I'll give you guys my first impressions of checking out what people are having to say about this announcement, because it was posted on Twitter as well, and we'll go scroll through the comments and see how people feel about this. But this is the Season of Blood announcement trailer. I want you to look at these monsters right here. See how these are supposed to be the new vampiric monsters. And I've actually noticed something. This was the same thing that they did in StarCraft 1. So what they would do to save assets and resource is they would actually have the character, certain animations will actually revert the monster to its original state without the newer, like, visual changes. And so I'm sure some of you guys noticed, like, in the Season 1, basically some of the monsters have just a little bit of a VFX over it. But if you slow down the trailer, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the playback speed. I'm going to slow it down as much as possible. I'll mute the audio so it doesn't rip your ears. But watch what happens when this monster dies. Do you see how it originally had a cape and it had a different VFX artwork on it? If we slow down the combat from the original trailer right here, as the monsters die, you can see how this one has, like, the three little, like, vampiric, these are the new vampiric monsters. Right as it dies, it loses all of the skin. Same thing with this giant monster right here. And I'm just going to show it one more time just so you guys can see it, just in case you missed it on the bigger monster. So as soon as the monster reaches a state where he's going to be dismembered because the character reverts back to its original model, it could be originally I could totally get to save on basically resources in the game. Back in the day, with games would have like some sort of RAM limit, you only had so much to use, right? But nowadays, I mean, this is just a recycled monster, right? It's not gonna, well, at least from what I can tell via this little gameplay here that they showed off for Season of Blood, this is not brand new, like, monster gameplay. It's just a monster that we killed that has a different VFX over it that basically goes away right as it dies. I don't think that this is enough, even with these monsters, because I remember that there was an interview, I believe it was on IGN, and they were talking about these endgame bosses, and they asked, are these going to be all new bosses? And they said no. So we're getting recycled, these new endgame bosses. And I don't really want to be like kind of like a downer here, but the reality is we need a big season to really get people to come back in the game. If these are just reskin bosses with three little claw slash marks on it, unless there's a new mechanic, I want to say that the life cycle of this game is just not going to hold people's interest. Okay, so let's go and check out what Twitter has to say about this brand new announcement. Again, I haven't read these, so these are just my raw impressions. I'm genuinely curious to see if people are like, yes, I'm super excited, because for me as a Diablo content creator, I am desperately in need of some new content here. So I want these to be big. So vampiric powers, quality of life changes. I'm optimistic, excited to hear. Okay, can't wait. Okay, does anyone have anything else? What is that? Better make Necromancer decrepify or permanent. Oh yeah, so I'm thinking, okay, this is another thing I'm curious about, because a lot of you guys probably played Season 1. I don't think they should remove the Malignant hearts, and the reason why is I want as much content in this game as possible. The more little, like, things that we can tweak with our character, adding, let's say, the barber, could open up the doors for other things, because remember, that damage that it deals is shadow damage. It can actually open up the doors to more builds, right? But at the end of the day, it may make our characters too powerful, and on top of that, we're basically getting a massive amount of damage reduction because resistances should be working in the next season. This was mentioned in one of their articles, whether they are going to actually fix the resistances. So over here, they're going to be updating resistances, and on top of that, vulnerable, overpower, and crit strike damage updates. So this is actually going to be a huge, massive nerf, and I don't even know why they posted this. So in one of the campfire chats, they mentioned that crit damage and vulnerable damage are too strong. Then they said they were going to move it to additive damage, which makes it defeat the whole purpose of having a separate damage, vulnerable or crit. Otherwise, you just scale core skill damage, and that's like the best thing that you can go, because every build just uses basically your core skill to deal most of your damage. Having all of them mashed into just one damage bucket basically makes all of these other things kind of irrelevant for the most part, because some builds, well, you can't really apply vulnerable easily, so they're just making it so that's all additive now, which makes it worse, by the way. So I don't think that that's the right direction, but that's what they're mentioning that they're doing. And so with that addition of nerfs, because that is going to be a nerf, and with the addition of maybe losing out on some of the Malignant hearts, specifically like the Barber, I think this is like a bad decision if they remove that. Some seasons and games, they don't keep the same stuff. Let's see, probably more lane BS, they flopped it. Okay, what did we got? We got a thumbs up, we got looking forward. So, I mean, I'd say it's kind of like, a lot of people are just say looking forward to it, a Diablo game without Diablo. Okay, to be fair, he's probably going to be eventually in the game as some sort of a boss. It'd be really interesting to see if he actually becomes an ally, wherever they take it. It would be interesting to we see this guy over here saying, sounds good. Hopefully this season there's a lot more focus on the hype positive stuff. But like season 1 got shortchanged because all of the negative stuff was the focus, and the cool stuff like heart powers were just never really mentioned. I mean, they kind of mentioned it. They said these were going to be super broken, overpowered. And while the Barber is still really good, there are so many, like the Barbarian one is just like you have a chance to not take damage as their special Wrathful heart. It feels very undercooked and underwhelming. At the end of the day, there's people still play this game, hope it's good. Okay, so I would still say, I mean, there's some people that are, like you see this guy saying zero interest. I would say, overall, I think that they can hear us loud and clear, and I think that they really need someone in charge of whatever, like the game's vision, direction, or designer, creative. I think they need someone in the creative space here to really come out. I honestly think the greatest idea would be to take a bunch of the Diablo streamers that have left the game or have kind of put their content creation on hold, have them create the season. I honestly feel like that's the best thing that they can do for this, but that's what they're saying on Twitter. Let's go check out Reddit over here with this developer update that was just posted today as well. So let's see what it says. I'm sure we're all going to be super reasonable after it's over. Okay, that's probably not true. I mean, people are already saying the update sucks while knowing nothing about it. Well, there's an announcement of the announcement, and when they're saying that there's going to be some sort of deep dive on class balance changes and reworks to several in-game systems, again, I think, and this is coming from someone that, well, there's no leaderboard in Diablo 4, but I've hit rank 1 this season in Diablo 3, so I want to say that, like, a lot of people that really understand the game in terms of min-maxing will all say that this is a very terrible idea to move crit and vulnerable to additive damage. That is a very, very, very bad idea, because you're just nerfing everyone's character's build by a significant, I mean, an insane amount, but, you know, that's the reality of it. So, I mean, I don't think that people are saying it sucks without knowing nothing about it. I mean, we have the gameplay footage right here. It's the same monsters that you're fighting. Maybe that there's some sort of narration with this, but overall, I mean, the cutscene was kind of cool. Even in season like 1, the voice acting was great, but the campaign, it's like a 1 hour long campaign. To have all these players to restart and to kill kind of the same monsters, and at the very end they just revert back to what they were before, it doesn't sound very exciting, at least from my perspective. Now, we do get the Uber Uniques, and that may open up the doors for more builds, so that's kind of cool. It better not be vampiric dungeons have popped up all over the map. Yeah, you know what's weird is when I saw the first announcement of Season 1, I was hyped. They showed this, like, black ooze on the map. If anyone remembered, I think it was on, like, Instagram is where they first revealed it, or maybe on Twitter. There was, like, a video, and it showed, like, black ooze eating up the entire, like, map, and I was like, okay, what is this crazy, like, ooze? We gotta fight back this ooze of, like, you know, some sort of, like, you know, it was ooze, or maybe it was like some sort of, like, black fog, you know, infecting people. But what really wasn't that. All it was is that you took, like, some VFX, you threw it on a monster, and then we kill the monster, and then we kill it again, and then we get our item. Like, the Malignant monsters were not a brand new challenge. You have to add a new challenge, and I want to talk a little bit about that in a second here. But it better not be a vampiric dungeons of pop, conquer them to get special blood gems. Oh gosh, then it's the same exact thing. Okay, I really hope that's not the same case, because then, you know, people will get bored after 60, 70. Yeah, okay, so can't wait for them to ignore all the major gripes about the game and tell us how much we're going to love the next season. Yeah, you need to do more than just quality of life. Even if we get a search feature, even if you give us 1,000 stash tabs, which would be awesome, I still think that you need another form of endgame content. I will take just a variant of a greater rifts at this point, because at the end of the day, these nightmare dungeons, when you gotta go here, you gotta free this person, I gotta untie this, I gotta do this, it just feels too tedious, and it doesn't have the impact of, like, an endgame experience. On top of that, being able to juice up your maps, and I'm gonna mention Path of Exile here, because the maps that have, like, sort of you do 10% more of fire damage, cold damage, whatever, and then have all these other negative modifiers where I have to sit there, wait in a bubble, wait for the explosion, and then I get to continue playing the game. If that was a very specific special modifier that would happen 1 out of 100 times, and then the loot was so godly that it would make me want to be excited to play that thing where there's a little thunder thing that comes down, then I would be excited about that mod. But there's so many mods that are simply just not fun to engage with. That's I'm ready to hear about Rob's all-new Malignant. Okay, that was actually actually really funny from the last one. Until they fix itemization, yes, that's exactly how I feel about this, to be honest. You can't just put like, okay, we're gonna be fixing horses, but like if you play the endgame, the horses are almost irrelevant because all you're doing is nightmare dungeons, and you can't ride the horses in the nightmare dungeon. So I think that they really need to revamp the itemization, but also like the endgame like loot progression. They are technically giving us, again, uber unique, so that's kind of good. Am I reading too much on this wording, or does it sound like not all the things they are working on are going to be ready for launch? Oh, okay. Many qualities are arriving through, so yeah, you know what, yeah, that's true also. It's going to revive through Season 2. But even like then, like if I know, if they were to say something that we're going to be itemization 2.0 in the middle of the season, I would still be more excited to play the season because I know that like my stuff is going to maybe carry over, or there's going to be cooler things to come so I can save some of my items. So I'm not too worried about it if not everything comes out at the launch, but that's fine. Too little, too late, don't care. Okay, so because I need this feedback because I want to know like where I should take my channel in terms of direction, because we have lots of other action RPGs to play. Like I play pretty much every single action RPG from Wilson, Torchlight, obviously Last Epoch, and of course I always play Path of Exile every single season. Hope for a vampire skill tree. Yeah, okay, a gem that gives 0.001% leech is all I can do. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, a brand new skill tree would be great. I think what would be really awesome is if they just took all of the Diablo 3 developers that worked on all the cool things that Diablo 3 has gotten over the years, the ethereal weapons, the special gems that we had, the demonic gems that we could have, those angelic weapons, just add all that stuff, the brand new skill tree that we got in season 28, have that stuff in Diablo 4. Don't take away any content though. Okay, so reworks to several in-games. Okay, so yeah, okay, occultist enchantment reduced by 1.25%. Yeah, all this additive XP stuff of getting like 3% more XP definitely is feeling underwhelming. So this is what I kind of want to wrap up the video with. Now I can see it's, I'm going to be honest, relatively negative in terms of what I'm seeing, in terms of feedback. There's a couple people that I'm like, I'm excited, and I'm still excited to hop back in, but I want to be excited for more than basically 1 to 3 days, and then I'll be like, okay, well, I maxed out a character, I got the brand new gem. I guess we have the Uber Uniques to look forward to, which we'll be dropping a video very soon going over what new builds we can play with the Uber Uniques, because we're going to be able to target farm them. So I got to bring up Path of Exile here. So the reason why I wanted to bring up Path of Exile is when there's a new season, okay? The new season for Diablo is basically killing the same monsters, and then you can maybe get a Wrathful Heart, then you socket it, and that's it. The gameplay itself does not realistically change too much. Sure, your build may change because something interacts. That's cool. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to consistently do the mechanic for the new, like, season the whole time as some sort of a way for progression. Path of Exile does this in a really good way. Basically every single season you can just keep on farming the new mechanic to get more power, to get more currency, which another thing that would actually add a bigger life cycle for this game is actually trade. I'm not talking about just going to Diablo.trade, but I'm talking about like they need just a full functioning like auction house system in the game, or just a better way to list our items. Anyways, like this is Path of Exile's league for this exact league, and I've already had like a build guide for you guys if you guys want to play that. But like you can see like how much like effort was put into the design of this. We had like a whole battleground. We get to set up an army. We get to equip our army members with certain things. We get to see if we're battling this other tribe. We get to get different rewards. There is so much in here, and then like you get to also get skill tattoos, so your whole skill tree can change. And then on top of that, and then like you go in and then you can actually fight. There's actually they're showing some like other things in the game, but for the most part the main thing is like we have like a different arena that we can battle in. This is a brand new mechanic. There's newer monsters, there's new things that we actually have to combat, and I think that we need this in Diablo 4 for a new season. We need to be excited. There needs to be some giant massive sort of a thing for us to get excited about. But anyways, that's my take on it. Love to hear your thoughts on the brand new update. Do you guys feel like it was kind of underwhelming? Obviously we'll have to wait for the live stream for the full details, but for them to mention that like, okay, we're gonna get additional stash space and like we're gonna improving the dungeons, it's not enough. I need to see like we're gonna do itemization, we're gonna do like big changes to character classes. Maybe you get to, I don't know, select a subclass, and then we could basically have skills from other classes, and then we're looking at like really good life cycle. Because at the moment right now, from this announcement that was just posted today, I'm not really too excited about just this small announcement. I'll come back October 4th and I'll let you guys know what it is in there. So anyways, if you guys want to see that, subscribe, turn that bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.